Welcome back, my fellow students of human nature, to the End of Us channel, where we do a deep dive into why it is that we all do the often counterproductive things that we do, and why that is inevitably going to lead to the end of our species. I'm your host, Kevin Leonard, and I'm old, so I really know what the fuck I'm talking about. This is chapter 2 in the series, focusing on how essential to our survival innovation is. And human innovation has only ever been given birth in the brains of our fellow Homo sapiens, who have both sky-high, fluid IQ and the innate ability to be creative, to envision new ways of putting previously unconnected things together. For the first time in human history that we've actually had witnesses to, our social and cultural progress is being reversed. Why and how is this happening? It's happening because of the internet and what I call anti-social media. Throughout our species' existence, the progress we've made, even when it was accidental, was due to the fact that the most clever among us recognized the value and changed for the better and adopted, if not improved, the new technology. It may not be politically correct in this day and age to acknowledge this fact, but the average caveman, or even the average person today, given the bell curve of fluid IQ, a normal Gaussian distribution, was not coming up with new inventions. And you'll note that I always distinguish between fluid IQ and crystallized IQ. I have no time or interest in debating the recent new emphasis on general IQ or emotional IQ. Sorry, I'm not woke, and that all-inclusive baloney has no relevance to our species' technological advancements. There are many people who have great memories, even phenomenal memories. That's crystallized IQ, the ability to amalgamate lots of information and memorize detailed steps and processes. And it's processes, not processes. Drives me nuts. Word ends in is, its plural is es. Ends in as, es, or ess, it's es. Those folks supply great information to inventors and can make great doers, but they're not doing the inventing. It is individuals with high fluid IQ that do the inventing. Fluid IQ is the ability to assimilate previously unconnected concepts, weigh their potential value, and connect them in new ways, then communicate these new ideas clearly to others. You'll hear those other people say, "I'd never thought of it that way," or "I would never have put those things together." Assimilation and invention, not amalgamation and regurgitation. It's like the difference between a superb writer of fiction and a brilliant historian. But why did I say we're regressing socially and culturally? And why is that such a disaster for humanity? How is it helping to take us down the road toward the end of us? A bit of tech background. Most people don't give a thought to the www that used to precede all URLs on the internet. But it stands for World Wide Web, and it was the effort led by Tim Berners-Lee to interconnect that web of databases together on a global level that gave birth to the internet. That planet-wide connection of digital repositories of information are what allowed Google and other engines to become the source for all the stuff we search online for, and it's what powers today's artificial intelligence boom. Databases in universities, governments, companies, and digital sources of content like YouTube and thousands of other websites, apps, and other aggregators of information. Berners-Lee and many other intellectuals and tech pundits envisioned the dawn of a new age of human connection and a step change in humanity's education and intellectual growth. What they didn't take into account was the subject of Chapter 3 in The End of Us, our weakness for addiction, along with Chapters 4, our sex drive, and 5, our hoarding impulse. And there has been a blossoming of interconnectivity online. Social platforms like Facebook aren't siloed by nationalities, that is, outside of the subject of Chapter 8, Precedents for Life, and spreading helpful information has made educating oneself easier and cheaper than ever in our human history. But inevitably and insidiously, those humans among us who crave riches and fame began leveraging sex drive and addiction to virtually enslave all the rest of us for their own benefit. Many people don't know that many major universities have classes to teach students how to leverage our predisposition for addiction to program applications and websites to capture our attention and pull us down digital rabbit holes. Adding in sounds, lights, rewards, and congratulations keep us playing Angry Birds, etc. Pornography is the single biggest type of content and sucks the most time spent on the internet by far. Young boys are getting exposed and hooked pre-puberty at the same time as they're becoming hopelessly addicted to violent video gaming. Young men and boys throughout human history learned how to shoot arrows by the older kids in the tribe, and becoming proficient was both necessary and desirable. So our brains have wiring that rewards young males for practicing in the effort to achieve mastery. It's irresistible. Leveraging that predisposition is what video game companies and programmers use to get rich at the expense of depriving boys of the real-world experience they need to get outside of their bedrooms and basements. Add in free and perversely graphic porn in endless variety, and you get young men who have no desire to leave their digital screens and risk facing rejection by women in the real world. Young women and girls desperately need to socialize to ensure they have a reliable support group within their tribe, and they equally strongly want to be attractive to males in order to win over mates with good genes and resources. Social media companies and programmers take advantage of these instincts to pull them in and keep them coming back, even if it leads to some teenagers losing sleep in order to keep up with the latest gossip and beauty tip advice online. Add in hookup apps and sugardaddy.com, and you get the 10% of males with the best looks having non-stop one-night stands with young women who desperately want commitment, but think that the new normal means that they have to put out to even get on the playing field. We need look no further than the surveys done with teens and 20-somethings. They all, without exception, readily admit that they are addicted to online apps and content. All of us can see our own predilections and recognize that much of our time online is nothing but uncontrollable doom scrolling at the insistence of our brain's addiction wiring. So what? We're all addicted to digital bait. What's your bigger point, Mr. Perpetual Student of Human Nature? Here's the issue. Given the choice, what do we all tend to do? Things that are easy or things that are hard? Things that please us or things that don't? The vast majority of humans aren't interested in learning new things, and they're even less keen on inventing new things. Given the choice, we like hearing our own thoughts played back to us, reinforced versus contradicted. By now, most everyone has heard of cognitive dissonance, our tendency to not want to hear things that don't match what the tape playing inside of our heads is saying to us over and over. What has the internet and social media given us? The ability to never hear anything other than what we already believe or feel. For the majority of humans, not the few who are constantly seeking out new and previously unknown information, seeking out more of the same old shit is really comforting, if not entertaining. What's so bad about that? Well, it's not great for those individuals since they're not being exposed to the real world and what is actually happening out there. But it is fucking terrible for our species. So-called social media is doing only one thing really well, and it's making most of us antisocial, turning people against one another and igniting fights. That is what social media is designed to do. Only feed us what we already know and therefore like. Willful ignorance is cheap and easy. For most people, learning new things is hard and takes time away from more fun stuff that never would take place without it. Just today on Facebook, I pointed out that global warming denial is a religion for people who struggle to understand complex concepts. Ignorance is a cozy cocoon to hide away from reality. On top of the usual trolls who have replaced religion with global warming denial and peddle conspiracy theories to back up their so-called knowledge base, I got the usual ad hominem personal attacks from the trolls who are too lazy or too stupid to even search for baloney to support their new religion. When in the past 100 years would anyone other than the mentally ill come up to another person in the public square and insult them to their face? Not argue with them, just call them derogatory names. Oh, it might have happened, but today it's a daily experience for only one reason, so-called social media. Social media is fundamentally antisocial, and it is making a significant segment of our human population anti-science, anti-progress, and ready to do battle with those who used to lead us forward. As a species, we suffer from a herd mentality. Confronted with a group that insists on something, even if it is demonstrably silly, most of us will eventually go along with the herd and join in. As a fundamentally social species that relies on being a member of a group, of a tribe, for protection and support, we go along to get along. What this means for humanity as a whole moving forward is that we are losing, or maybe we have already lost, respect for the educated among us. Our first impulse nowadays is to knee-jerk when we hear something unfamiliar and different to the information base we already have in our minds, and react with some anger and disbelief. We no longer withhold judgment to assess the expertise of the speaker or information source. Our initial reaction is rejection. Because of anti-social media, cognitive dissonance, and the abundance of false information on the internet, we no longer trust at face value those with experience, education, and good judgment. And I'm not talking about the 65% of us who are on the average or below IQ side of the bell curve, or the 30% of us who are intractably wired for conservatism and cannot even hear an opinion that they don't already subscribe to, nor even the slightly less than 30% who are intractably wired for progressivism and react in a similar way to those on the right. I'm talking about the formerly open-minded and fairly clever centrists who determine the majority of democratic elections in the world. I'd proudly count myself among the latter group, but even I now raise an eyebrow when I hear some distinguished-looking, presumed intellectuals stating something I'm unfamiliar with. The internet and anti-social media have infected Homo sapiens with suspicion and instinctive derision, and now we have artificial intelligence coming on board to shake our confidence in new information even further. It came as a shock to me over the last few months of 2025 to realize that many videos I've been watching are entirely and completely fake. See my video called "Where is Your Face" for more on the issue. The scripts are all AI generated with a simple question like, make a video script about the recent incident in the news in Paris that is tongue-in-cheek and is about 20 minutes long with visuals to match the contents. The narrator that reads the script is a computer-generated voiceover that mimics the voice of various famous people or is chosen for a specific accent and gender. Mind-blowing. The so-called creators of these increasingly common so-called faceless channels are earning ad revenue without doing a stitch of actual work. So my concern is this. Our species got to where we are today by relying on those tribe members who we all recognized were simply gifted with more fluid IQ than the rest of us. We knew that we had a couple of members who remembered stuff way better than the rest, and we counted on the clever inventor to work with the great rememberers to come up with better ways for us to survive and teach our genetic copies to carry the new inventions and knowledge forward. If the majority of us, now and in the future, have lost faith in the automatic and well-deserved respect for experts, first and foremost, as the species who dominate the planet and are actively working to change the entire ecosystem, we are in trouble. The internet has encouraged too many of us to believe that our uneducated opinions are of equal value to the education and experience of experts. The Dunning-Kruger effect has become our new reality. Those who struggle mightily to understand complex concepts are convinced by the stuff they see on anti-social media that they're in the right and need no further information, while the most clever among us, faced with all of humanity's knowledge at their fingertips on the internet, are sure that they don't know everything and need to do more research before standing up and confronting those in the former group. Facing the lobbying of corporations and their shareholders among the country's top 10% who own much of the news media in the US in 1987, Ronald Reagan abolished the Fairness Doctrine of 1949 in the US, which then allowed stations to cater to only right or left-leaning viewers and thus increased ad revenue through more direct targeting of audiences, winning their undying loyalty. Clinton then deregulated media ownership in 1997, same lobbyists, and opened the door to having only 5 or 6 mega corporations owning and directing all the news media today. These manipulations by the country's richest citizens paved the way for today's polarized media landscape and our current social and cultural divide. If no bridge founded on civilized discourse is built to bring most of us back together, the end of respect for and reliance upon experts, science, reality, and truth will sadly and certainly contribute to the end of us. I've had a very long string of malignant narcissists in my life. I'm kind of like a wounded seal in the water, and they're attracted to me like sharks prodding me to see if I'm capable of fighting back. Carl Jung believed that empathetic people attract manipulative individuals to them because they pick up on what they lack. And I know very well that I'm a sucker for helping people out, as anyone who knows me well will tell you. I finally developed a sixth sense, and I no longer let the manipulators, the malignant narcissists, the sociopaths get close. But my lifelong exposure to them has made me desperate to understand why so many of us do things that are counterproductive to our well-being, our quality of life. Not our psychology, but rather what is in our brain wiring, our genetics, the evolution of our species, our evolved behavior on an individual and social level that drives our interactions and our decision-making. On this channel, I'm not doing daily or weekly new videos. I'm not even creating brand new insights into human nature. I'm just going back to the blog posts I began almost 20 years ago and presenting the insights I developed over the past 2 decades in light of today's social battleground. By that, I mean the current normalization of what are obviously quite brazen antisocial attacks on each other on so-called social media. Let's call it, for what we all know it is, anti-social media. In the almost 2 decades of creating hundreds of blog posts, totaling hundreds of thousands of words, dozens of videos, and tons of content, I have never earned a single cent of revenue. So you, my fellow student of human nature, can be one of the very first. Many thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the next one. On this channel, you'll get no annoying background music, no irritating voices, no bad dad jokes, just thought-provoking, well-researched, deeply impactful insights into our sometimes weird human behavior, arrived at over a lifetime of study and experience. If you are ever watching a video filled with nothing but stock images and a good sounding but entirely faceless voiceover that occasionally mispronounces things and says 1987 instead of 1987, you are helping to pay a fraudster with ad revenue for content made with virtually no effort. Just a script created using artificial intelligence narrated by a computer-generated voice. Don't get sucked in by the anonymous cheaters promoting generic information you could be getting from genuine, dedicated creators who do the research, the thinking, and production to offer you truly original and unique content. Why listen to me? I've been a perpetual student of human nature my entire adult life. From attaining a degree in psychology and evolutionary behavior, through a many decades-long career in marketing research, uncovering what makes people tick, to over 15 years creating content about human nature, I've been obsessed with figuring out why we do the counterproductive things we do and how the not-so-smart majority of humanity have managed to survive so long. Help the channel get to 1 million subscribers. I've been surprised to see that recently I've gone up to 240 or 250, which is just amazing. And thank you very much to everyone who has seen their way clear to subscribe. And for those of you who haven't subscribed, come on, be an early adopter and click on subscribe down below. Remember, you can be subscribed to thousands of channels. Subscribing just helps to promote content you find interesting to others and keeps you in the loop. And don't be a YouTube freeloader. If you watch any video for more than a minute, the way that you put $1 in the thank you meter for content creators is by clicking the like thumbs up button. If you've been educated or entertained by a video, leaving a comment and clicking on the notification bell makes a huge difference to the way that the algorithms promote the content. And I reply to all comments that are based on well-researched and carefully thought through points, but I admit that I ignore knee-jerk comments based on any particular individual's left or right-leaning brain hardwiring. I don't suffer fools gladly, and I keep in mind that no one can fix stupid. Lastly, if you really feel I deserve it because you got something out of my thinking in the hours, days, and weeks I put into making this content, then buy me a coffee or become a supporter via Patreon by contributing once or weekly by clicking the links down below. My sincere thanks for your support. It helps me make content for you that the mainstream media won't ever cover in depth. Please take a look at all the past videos listed on the channel that have helped so many people understand their fellow Homo sapiens just a little bit better, and check out my other channel, Human Nature Simplified.